Is that what it is? I don't know. I'm just asking. Good morning to you. By the way, Crosby, do you know how to cook?
Oh, yes.
What do you cook? Spaghetti?
Oh, no. I can cook everything apart from banku. And I can't cook banku because
you can't say. Some say you have to scoop some and then throw it at the wall. Wow, if it sticks, then it means that the banku is in session.
The things
Can you imagine what kind of banku mita is that? Let's get into the detail of the suit that has been brought. In fact, what is Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta asking the court to do in the matter of the Office of the Special Prosecutor seeking to declare him a wanted person again? Now, these are the reliefs that are being sought by Mr. Ofori-Atta. What are they, Crosby?
Well, Johnny, so Ken Ofori-Atta is asking for this, a declaration that the defendant's action constitutes trespass and breach. Okay,
so this is relative to the national security persons who said to have broken into the home of Mr. Ofori-Atta to, investigate or do whatever they have to do.
Yes.
He sued some staff of the security institution. Mm-hmm. What is he demanding, really?
So it's also asking general damages for trespass and aggravated damages for the breach of privacy. That is in relation again to the staff of the national security who went to his private residence. Also, a perpetual injunction restraining the defendants, their agent or assigns from entering his property again or engaging in similar conduct. He wants the court to help put a stop to this so that it does not happen again in his house. Now let's look at some more reliefs that Ken Ofori-Atta is seeking from the court. A declaration that the Special Prosecutor Kizia Jabin, as a lawyer, breached his duty to act fairly and reasonably when he sought to change the content of his engagement with the former minister through a media briefing. All he's saying is that, when Ken Ofori-Atta came to declare him as a wanted man, a fugitive of justice,
right.
He says that Ken Ofori-Atta, he says the OSP did not act fairly and reasonably when he did that, when he changed the content of his engagement with the former minister through a media briefing. He's also asking for more. Now, this is an order, and he's asking for an order for the immediate removal of the photograph and details of the applicant, Ofori-Atta, from the wanted list on the website of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Right.
He's also asking for payment and compensation. So he's asking this, if you like, his money for unlawfully declaring the applicant wanted. And the applicant I'm talking about, Ofori-Atta. So Ofori-Atta is saying that the court should ask compensation from the OSP that will come to him because the OSP unlawfully declared him
wanted.
Also, unlawful publication on the OSP's website that the applicant is a wanted person. So two things. There's a third one. The two things we're talking about: the unlawful declaration that he is wanted,
unlawfully declaring the applicant wanted, and also unlawful publication of the OSP's website.
On the website that he's a wanted person. The third is this:
it's a wanted that he doesn't want.
Not that.
Yeah.
Let's look at the third one. The third of the reliefs that he's seeking. Ofori-Atta is also asking that the court directs the OSP to post documents that it may require from the applicant for investigations and serve same on the solicitors of the applicant for them to furnish same. So tell us the documents you need for this investigation. The fourth one is this: injunction restraining the Office of the Special Prosecutor from carrying out its threat of taking necessary legal steps to secure his return into the country. Johnny, this is an interesting one, this fourth one.
Right.
From carrying out threats to take legal steps to secure her return to the country. You know that the OSP has responded to all of this.
Right. So that if by 2nd June he doesn't appear,
yes, he would
have to re-enter his name onto the wanted list, and then now go to. Let's look at the reliefs that are being the detail there in there, and maybe we'll read in full. Press release by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and it says a case update. Ken Ofori-Atta. The Office of the Special Prosecutor acknowledges a lawsuit filed by Kenneth Ofori-Atta contesting the OSP's proud declaration that he was a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. Mr. Ofori-Atta formally requested the OSP to remove his name from the OSP's list of wanted persons with the assurance to the OSP that he would make himself available for questioning on a definite date. Now, this is important. It says Mr. Ofori-Atta formally requested the OSP to remove his name from the OSP's list of wanted persons with the assurance to the OSP that he would make himself available for questioning on a definite date. The OSP, in good faith and on the basis of Mr. Ofori-Atta's assurance, granted his request and removed his name from the OSP's list of wanted persons pending his personal attendance at the OSP on the definite date. Mr. Ofori-Atta is mandatorily required to appear in person before the OSP on 2nd June or 2 June 2025. If Mr. Ofori-Atta fails to attend the OSP on the scheduled date, he shall be re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons, and the OSP shall consider him a fugitive from justice, whereupon the OSP will cause the issuance of an Interpol red notice in his regard, and also cause the initiation of extradition proceedings in any jurisdiction in which he may be found. The OSP remains unwavering in its commitment to enforcing the law and ensuring that Mr. Ofori-Atta answers for his role as the prime suspect in the 5 ongoing corruption and corruption-related investigations signed by Kesi Jabin, who is a special prosecutor. This is important because if you read the second paragraph, he says that Mr. Ofori-Atta formally requested the OSP to remove his name from the OSP's list of wanted persons with the assurance to the OSP that he would make himself available for questioning on a definite date. So it was a negotiation of a sort, a gentleman's agreement that, oh, look, you take my name off. I will come.
Yeah.
So where from the lawsuits then? After the agreement and the name was taken off, where from?
So what Ofori-Atta is saying is that although we have agreed or we have spoken about you removing my name from the wanted list and the OSP subsequently doing that,
right.
According to Mr. Ofori-Atta, it was wrong for the OSP to even in the first place declare him wanted and then to put his name on the website of the OSP that he is a wanted person. So what people are saying, the conversation is that the OSP did not go through the right process or the right procedure to declare him wanted. What people want to know, what they are demanding answers of the OSP is that what has Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta been charged with?
Right.
So if the police goes to arrest somebody, for instance, they take the person to court and the person is properly charged, even if the person secures bail and then the person comes out.
Right.
And then if the person runs away, the police goes back to the court to go and ask for a warrant to declare him wanted. Then they'll go and look for the person and rearrest him.
So look, the last paragraph of what Mr. Kesi Jabin, the special prosecutor, wrote is that the OSP remains unwavering in its commitment to enforcing the law and ensuring that Mr. Ofori-Atta answers for his role as the prime suspect in 5 ongoing corruption and corruption-related investigations. 5. But so there are 5 cases that are hanging around the neck of Mr. Ofori-Atta, according to the OSP. Yeah.
But this ongoing corruption-related offenses that Mr. Ofori-Atta has been accused of, is it a charge? Is it? What is Mr. Ofori-Atta? What is he wanted for? That's what he's wanted for. But is it a charge from a court? That is where there is the gray area. Maybe incoming lawyer.
Well, so let's look at the powers of the OSP.
Yes.
The OSP, by the OSP law, has powers, right? And these powers are supposed to be including what? Arrest, search and take possession of documents, seizure of suspected tainted property, movable and immovable, seizure and detention of currency suspected to be proceeds of corruption, direct declaration of property and income, freezing of property, render orders for disclosure of funds and other assets, render confiscation orders, render pecuniary penalty orders, realize property, right? And then property tracing, lift veil, protect witnesses, victims, whistleblowers, and informants, appoint receivers to manage and preserve realizable property, manage seized assets, demand disclosure of funds, and demand disclosure of assets. Let's go back to the very top. It talks about arrest.
Yes.
So, and if you read subsequently, it says here that they are drawing their powers from Act 960, Act 30, right, under the Criminal and Other Offences Act. Now, it talks also about the very final page, where some of these powers are exercised upon applications to the High Court.
Right.
The OSP is not subject to the direct or control of any person or authority in the performance of its functions except as provided in the Constitution. The office is, for the purposes of its functions, authorized by the Attorney General to initiate and conduct the prosecution of corruption and corruption-related offences. The OSP may be requested by Parliament in the public interest to investigate, etc., etc., etc. So these are the powers of the OSP. And it says some of these powers, it is per application to the High Court, but they are not subject to the control of anybody. So they can arrest you, really.
Yes.
Recall
the OSP has insisted on that time and again that, look, they can arrest you.
Yes. Okay, so let's start from here. The search for the former finance minister, they are still at the investigation stage. At least we know that from the communication that we have seen so far. I think there was a communication in which they hinted of some of the reasons they are looking for the former finance minister.
In fact, there's a full tape. Maybe we should just play the tape.
Yes, let's play.
Let's listen to the tape.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, a few minutes ago, I signed a directive declaring a high-profile person a fugitive from justice. This person is wanted by the OSP to answer charges in respect of several cases, including the following. 1. Contractual arrangements between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority for the stated downstream petroleum sector, upstream petroleum production, and minerals and metals resources value chain. 2. Termination of a distribution, loss reduction, and associated network improvement project contract between the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited and Beijing Xiaocheng Technology BXC. 3. Procurement of contractors and materials and activities and payments in respect of the National Cathedral project. 4. Activities and payments in respect of a contract awarded by the Ministry of Health, initially commenced by the Ministry for Special Development Initiatives, to Service Ghana Auto Group Limited for purchases and after-sales service and maintenance of 307 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 305 CDI ambulances for the National Ambulance Service. And 5. Payments out of and utilization of the tax refund account of Ghana Revenue Authority. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the fugitive's name is Kenneth Ofori-Atta. Mr. Ofori-Atta is 66 years old. He was the Minister of Finance of the Republic between 2017 and 2024. Mr. Ofori-Atta left the jurisdiction on or around 2 January 2025. On 24 January 2025, the OSP communicated to Mr. Ofori-Atta that the OSP considered him a suspect in respect of 4 of the cases described above. Mr. Ofori-Atta was directed to attend in person the OSP on Monday, 10 February 2025 at 10 GMT for interview. By communication dated 31 January 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta instructed his lawyers to inform the OSP that he was out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds, and that the firm will notify the OSP of his arrival in the country in aid of rescheduling his personal attendance at the OSP. Further, the firm offered its willingness to provide the OSP with any information the OSP may require to aid in the investigation until his arrival in the country. Then on 5 February 2025, the OSP responded to Mr. Ofori-Atta, copied to his lawyers, that the OSP did not need or require notification from his lawyers of his arrival in the jurisdiction.
92.7.
The OSP acknowledged Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers' gracious offer to provide the OSP with information in aid of the investigation. However, and this is important, the OSP insisted that Mr. Ofori-Atta's personal attendance at the OSP was required. After all, the lawyers are not under investigation. I don't need lawyers to answer questions on your behalf when you are being investigated. The OSP declined Mr. Ofori-Atta's request to be away from the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds on his say-so. Consequently, the OSP directed Mr. Ofori-Atta to indicate by close of business on Monday, 10 February 2025, a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. The OSP warned Mr. Ofori-Atta that if he failed so to do, the OSP would take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at our own choosing. Subsequently, by communication dated 10 February 2025, that is just Monday, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers transmitted to the OSP a generic letter procured by Mr. Ofori-Atta purporting to be from a doctor in a foreign jurisdiction, stating that Mr. Ofori-Atta had been seen and evaluated, and that he was undergoing further testing and management and possible surgical intervention at an indicated future time. And further, that his medical condition necessitates that he will stay and follow up on his appointments. On account of this purported medical letter, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers prayed that the attendance in person of Mr. Ofori-Atta at the OSP should be fixed, taking into account the medical report from his doctors. And at 4:16 p.m. the very next day, that is yesterday, Tuesday, 11 February 2025, before we could respond to the letter that came on Monday, the OSP received another letter from Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers. This time, it was an inquiry. Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers wanted to know, and they stated that they were informed by the household of Mr. Ofori-Atta that in the morning of Tuesday, 11 February 2025, that is yesterday, 12 men, comprising 1 police officer, 4 military men, and 7 other men in plain clothing, visited Mr. Ofori-Atta's house, and that by threat of force, they were able to enter Mr. Ofori-Atta's house, and they undertook an exercise purporting to be a search of every room, office, gym, and other spaces in the house. Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers then inquired if the OSP could confirm that the actions of the 12 men were the instance of the OSP, so as to enable them to decide if a complaint to the police would be unnecessary. Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers then prayed for a prompt response from the OSP to prevent imposter action. We are now responding promptly, and we have chosen the course of answering Mr. Ofori-Atta's inquiry publicly at this briefing, considering the circumstances surrounding the purported raid at Mr. Ofori-Atta's house, media reportage of the purported raid, and in light of the reckoning that some media houses have stated emphatically that the OSP was behind the purported raid, and in light of the reckoning that the purported raid is being made to appear as if it was some untoward action by the OSP stemming from some contrived vendetta held by the OSP against Mr. Ofori-Atta. So, here we go. And this is our response to Mr. Ofori-Atta directly, but through you, the media. Mr. Ofori-Atta, the OSP did not raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025, or on any other day. Mr. Ofori-Atta, the OSP did not cause any persons, however uniformed or bedecked, to raid your house on Tuesday, 11 February 2025, or on any other day. Mr. Ofori-Atta, that could not have been the OSP, and that is not our style. If the OSP enters your premises, you will not be in doubt as to whether it was the OSP that had come there, and your lawyers will not have cause to do an inquiry ascertaining whether it was the OSP. We have our unique methods of conducting searches, and we have uniquely designed insignia identifying ourselves, and not just by a statement that we are from the OSP. This is one such main insignia. A person cannot just show up and say they are from the OSP. It's cheap, anyone can say that. But when the OSP enters your premises, you will definitely know by our insignia, our methods, and the way we identify ourselves that this is the OSP. Our intelligence points us to state that the purported raid on Mr. Ofori-Atta's residence was staged, or at best, an imposter action in an attempt to court disfavor for the OSP and to derail the investigation. You know us very well. The OSP is never deterred by such occurrences, and the investigations will continue as by law prescribed. These occurrences and the OSP's intelligence, which will not be revealed at this time for fear of compromising the investigation, are very instructive as not to put premium on Mr. Ofori-Atta's alleged imminent peril should he travel back to the jurisdiction. In any case, the purported medical letter transmitted through his lawyers to the OSP did not state so or demonstrate so. The OSP is unconvinced that the purported medical letter transmitted by Mr. Ofori-Atta through his lawyers to the OSP represents a medical report to the effect that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or is so sickly and invalid to the extent that he is physically unable to return to the jurisdiction without imperiling his life. No serious law enforcement agency, and certainly not the OSP, will be convinced that the purported medical letter stops it from demanding the physical appearance of Mr. Ofori-Atta before it in the described circumstances. We are of the firm conviction here that this is only a ruse employed by Mr. Ofori-Atta in aid of his intention to avoid returning to the jurisdiction and to personally answer questions in respect of the investigations. We are convinced that the real intention of Mr. Ofori-Atta is what was communicated to the OSP in the very first letter transmitted by his lawyers on 31 January 2025. That is, he has left the jurisdiction indefinitely. That was what was communicated to us at the first instance, and that is his intention. He has no intention of willingly returning to the jurisdiction. That much is clear to us. Consequently, ladies and gentlemen of the media, the OSP declares Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta a wanted person. He is a fugitive from justice. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. And this is to Mr. Ofori-Atta. You have two choices. You can either return to the jurisdiction voluntarily, or the OSP will enforce your return.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
OSP is Obia and Obia. Everybody is everybody. Nobody is not. You can't be somebody past nobody. Go and sit down, come here. That was a wrap from the OSP's office. Now the OSP
So this was an earlier press conference.
Yes.
Okay.
So this was the first that declared Mr. Ofori-Atta wanted. Subsequently, his lawyers engaged the OSP, wrote back and forth, and they had that agreement that, okay, we'll take his name off the wanted list, but then he has to return on a specific date. Now, Mr. Ofori-Atta has gone to court and he's asking that his name should never ever again be put on any wanted list. His photo should not be published, blah, blah, blah.
But you recall that I actually wanted to go back to the beginning, the questions that Crosby was asking. But you recall that the day we read the statement from Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, the love letter he wrote, I made a statement. In my analysis, I was asking whether there was something the OSP did not tell us, because that letter seemed to suggest that the OSP was in the known of the man's absence from the jurisdiction all along. There was a last paragraph to that letter that I took issue with. And I think that is in that spirit that we are seeing this other response from the OSP now, which also seemed to say that, well, initially we were acting in good faith. Now you want to show us something. We too will show you something. So the cat and mouse game is on. It is certainly on.
Anyway, let's speak to Counsel Osman Alasan. Is joining us on the phone line. Also on the other phone line, Mr. Richard Kumado. Kumado is a fraud and security analyst. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning,
and good morning
Great.
to your listeners.
Counsel, let me begin with you and ask you, is the OSP acting within the confines of the law? Hello, Counsel.
Yes.
Right.
My answer is yes. Depending on what we are talking about, what action of the special prosecutor are we
By declaring Mr. Ofori-Atta a wanted person and a fugitive, is he acting within the confines of the law?
Of course, as part of his mandate, his mandate is to investigate and prosecute crimes or offenses that are related to corruption. And before you are investigated, most of the time you have to be arrested. Because when you commit an offense, they have to arrest you. And the arrest now gives you an opportunity to answer to a charge at the preliminary stage or not. And so if the special prosecutor wants your arrest and has given you an opportunity to avail yourself for investigation before he could even decide to arrest you or not, and you decide not to avail yourself, and you are not also available for the purposes of lawful arrest, then of course it is up to the prosecutor to take any step that is necessary to secure your availability for investigating and for the arrest. And I think that to declare you a fugitive or to declare you as someone who is wanted is part of the processes, because if they declare someone wanted, what it means is that they are giving the public notice,
right,
that if you find him anywhere, alert us, because this is a public thing. It is a public interest matter. Corruption and fight against corruption is a public interest matter. And every citizen, even non-nationals, and that's why sometimes we have anti-corruption laws outside the country which are enforceable outside those jurisdictions. Corruption is an international concern. And so if they declare you a fugitive, or if you fail to appear or avail yourself for investigation in relation to an offense, and the person who is supposed to arrest you or supposed to investigate the offense declare you wanted, all you need do is to avail yourself.
Right.
And when you avail yourself, then you are no longer wanted. But to argue, if one argues that, okay, to declare someone wanted because the person has been notified or has been invited and the person refused to come, or the person has not been found where he should be found for arrest or investigation, then that act is unreasonable. Of course, the law requires public officers to act reasonably within the requirements of the law. But the point is that if you now say that that is unreasonable and that is not a requirement of the law, then it is a matter that the courts will have to decide. But for me, as a lawyer and as a practitioner, I don't think it is unreasonable for a law enforcement body who is supposed to investigate an offense to make necessary steps or take necessary steps to ensure that the person whose conduct is to be investigated avails him or herself for that investigation.
I see.
It is within, I think it is within the ambit of the investigative operations.
Right.
And it is within within reason.
I see. Let me bring in Mr. Kumado quickly. So, Richard, it looks like the cat and mouse game is on. You chase me, I dodge you, I catch you, I don't catch you. It's on. How should the OSP proceed going forward in trying to secure Mr. Ofori-Atta to come and answer to the 5 different investigations that are currently ongoing according to the OSP?
Okay, so now he has been charged with specific crimes. And he's been wanted to be arrested, just like the point the lawyer was making.
Right.
In investigations and in crime prosecutions, what he needed to do is to activate the international protocols and look at the country he's in. If we have deportation or extradition arrangements with them, he is a public enemy now, and anybody who sees him can alert the OSP or can arrest him and bring him. So Interpol could be informed that we needed this person to answer some charges, and these are the charges we have preferred against him, and he must come to answer. So help us to bring him. He can do that. The BNI can do that. Today, Yoko has entered into some relationship with the National Crime Agency of the UK, which does investigations for the UK government outside of the UK. And so wherever you find yourself, there are these organizations who also collaborate and they work together when it comes to crime prosecutions and crime investigations, irrespective of who you are and wherever you find yourself. So that is one option available to him. The other option is to wait for him to enter the country any day, anytime, and they could pick him up to answer some of those questions.
I see. Now, they will come back to the raid and how they connected it to the OSP, and OSP said, oh, they didn't raid and all of that. But let me come back to counsel. Counsel, now, the understanding we get from the OSP's quarters is that the first time they declared Mr. Ofori-Atta wanted, his lawyers got back to them and insisted that and had a certain agreement of a sort that his name be taken off the wanted list, that he will be present. Now we know that Mr. Ofori-Atta is in court asking that the court restrains perpetually the OSP from declaring him wanted and even from publicizing that. Do you think that the Ken Ofori-Atta side has given the OSP a raw deal of a sort, if you will?
Oh, I really, I don't know what I don't know what Mr. Ofori-Atta wants, but I know as a matter of public notice that the OSP also came out at a point in time,
right,
to say that his name had been taken out of the wanted list, or is no longer a fugitive because of a certain undertaking that Mr. Ofori-Atta has made to the office.
That's correct.
That on a particular day, Mr. Ofori-Atta will avail himself for the investigation.
That's correct.
So if this is correct, then if the action is trying to compel the special prosecutor to stop declaring him or to take his name out of the wanted list, I think it is of no consequence. It will be an acting in futility, because what you seek to stop is actually non-existent. That's number one. But you see,
Sunrise
this
on
matter,
3 FM, the best in
I
the
think, is
morning.
of greater significance than people think.
Tell me.
This case is of greater significance than people might think.
Tell me about it.
Now, if we make it as a norm that anyone who is charged with a criminal offense can go to court and stop the investigative body by coming under Article 23, which is a law regulating administrative bodies to act within their ambit and to be reasonable and all that. If they apply this to the police and the investigative bodies, which I agree sometimes they are excessive and sometimes they abuse it. But we have to be careful in granting such orders, because in the first place, if you are arrested or if you avail yourself for investigation before any law enforcement body, the law gives an opportunity for you to be granted bail.
Right.
It is not a conviction. It is not any, there's no room for unnecessary or unwanted restriction. And so to say that a law enforcement body should be stopped from investigating or from looking for a person who is at loggerheads with the criminal law is in itself to stop prosecuting or investigating criminal offense. Till when? Till when? I don't know when he wants them to stop them until he wants them to be stopped until what happens. And if it is perpetual, if it is forever, which means that whatever he does with the special prosecutor's requirement for investigation and prosecution of him, whatever he does, the special prosecutor must contend with it. And if it means if it means that the orders of the court has made the special prosecutor inaccessible to him, which will mean that's what it would be.
Counsel, is
dangerous.
Counsel, if you go back to the earlier press conference that Mr. Kessie Jabin, the special prosecutor, had, at the tail end of that conversation, he indicated that the first correspondence that he received from the lawyers of Mr. Ofori-Atta indicated that he is out of the jurisdiction forever. So, on hindsight, perhaps the OSP seems alarmed that, well, he should have paid attention to that initial letter that says that Mr. Ofori-Atta is perpetually out of the jurisdiction, as opposed to when they had that gentleman's agreement to alter the wanted or not wanted, notice and to trigger Interpol and all of that. What do you think?
No, I know of no virtual representation of an accused person by any lawyer. If you are an accused person and you are in there and you are wanted by the law enforcement bodies for any purpose, investigation, you are at liberty to appear before the person with your lawyer. Now that will be the first point at which the investigative body or any public officer will now recognize the engagement of you, the engagement of the lawyer by you, and the fact that the lawyer represents you. Now, if we are still looking for you to arrest you or to invite you for investigation, and a certain lawyer write to us claiming that is your lawyer and that this is what is the case. Why shouldn't that letter have come from Mr. Ofori-Atta himself? Why must it be his lawyers? His lawyers are writing to the special prosecutor to answer to the charges or to answer to the reasons why Ofori-Atta is not available. That is not, I don't think it might be, that's not legal representation.
Right.
That's not legal. You can't represent someone who is not yet in the hands of the police, the police or the law enforcement bodies.
I see.
Let him be there. You follow him there and now protect his right before the investigative body. That's what we know.
I see.
But to write a letter now seeking to answer the invitation of the law enforcement body is, for me, preposterous in many respects.
I see. Let me bring him, Komado. Komado, so again, if you look at the way and manner in which the OSP has gone about in trying to apprehend Mr. Ofori-Atta and Mr. Ofori-Atta's posture and that of his lawyers, is there going to be an end in sight anytime soon?
I'm very sure the special prosecutor is aware that the assignment giving him the mandate to investigate and prosecute crimes, particularly corruption, which has everything to do with embezzlement. Persons who have been accused to have embezzled state funds or bribery or corruption or fraud or financial crime, particularly when they have high personalities in society, crime concept shows us that they will mount a huge defense at the court by filing multiple lawsuits against the investigation bodies or the prosecutors. And this, I believe, the special prosecutor is aware. So right from day one, before they speak to the media, and before they engage him officially or unofficially, they should have prepared themselves and know all the tricks that persons who have been accused in that manner would have played. Lawyer has spoken, and I think we need to take what he says seriously. Other than that, from investigator's point of view, as me, I would have said that they might be playing with him with what's the word? Gloves that are weak or something?
Kids' gloves.
Yeah, kids' gloves. And I think this is a straightforward something. You remember a prominent lawyer in this country was outside the country who has been accused of certain crimes. People said he was not going to come. He came and mounted a defense at the court until such a time that people at the Supreme Court said the case has become an albatross on their neck, and he was ambushed and sent to prison. I think people who work with governments or have been given public resources knows that accountability is one of them. And prosecutor going into this case, we need to tread cautiously. Other than that, if you give a leeway, then people may say you are not doing the job properly. I wouldn't have taken that steps anyway. I would have gone straight up and say, it's either we arrest you and tell you the charges, or we have charged you and you have to make appearance. And it is at the point when you are making appearance that you come with your lawyers. Other than that, you have not been in our presence, and we will not be dealing with any lawyer who purports to have been representing you. And that is where the mix is. But having said that, this is a crime that has been charged against our uncle Ofori-Atta. Today is the special prosecutor who is handling it. Tomorrow, Yoko could have come in and say the economic crime thing. Financial intelligence sector could have come and say there are money laundering issues. The BNI could have come and say you have acted against the interests of the state. The police could have come in and say we are investigating the financial crime aspect of it, and it changes the dynamics. And all of them can do it at the same time or one after the other, and it changes the dynamics. So when the state is after you, it is also better to behave properly. Other than that, you might be worsening your case.
Now, quickly, before I wrap up with counsel, from the going events, you can clearly tell or maybe assume that it doesn't look like Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta wants to play ball with the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Because if you had an agreement and then you come on subsequently to go to court to say restrain them from going on with the investigation, it clearly tells that you have no intention of availing yourself and even joining in the investigation. The OSP has given 2nd of June as the day when they will trigger the Interpol red alert, etc. Is that not too much time? That's the voices on the street are asking. If you have any intention to trigger anything and you've seen the approach that the individual you're dealing with is doing, why do you have to wait until June?
It's a question for me.
Yes, it's a question for you.
Okay, so
if you were the one, if I let me put it there, if you were the person investigating, would you have waited until 2nd of June to trigger Interpol red alert?
No, I wouldn't have even removed the wanted list. The day I declare you wanted, and even before I declare you wanted, I'm looking for the country you are in and find out whether we have extradition arrangement with them and trigger that one first before I declare you wanted. So by the time I declare you wanted, I have every arrangement in place. And you will come, no matter what your lawyer says to me, we want to see you in person. And the conditions will have to change. And you have to write to us in person. And many of the things council is talking about, all those things must be in place. And I wouldn't take off the wanted list off or declare you as a fugitive. Until you are in our hands, you are a wanted person and you are a fugitive. And to that extent, I wouldn't even wait up to June. I would have triggered it tomorrow and said that based on what has happened and the suit, it's clear that you don't want to come. So I'm declaring you again. And this time around, you will have to make an appearance in person. And to that extent, nobody can say that I have abused your rights or I have abused your privacy and whatever it is. But the way it is going, I'm just admonishing that the special prosecutor must be aware that when you accuse people of such huge magnitude of crime, these are some of the tendencies you are likely to face. And it's better you prepare for them before the element of surprise takes you on.
Richard Kumado, fraud and security consultant, we're grateful that you could join us here.
Thank you.
Great. Counsel, you have the final word. Quo vadis.
Second.
I'm asking, now we know, quo vadis, where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, you see, I look at it is up to the special prosecutor. It is up to the special prosecutor to keep focus and to do his job. Now it is what when I look at what Mr. Ofori-Atta is doing, or his lawyers have filed, they are seeking even an injunction to restrain him from taking any step to forcibly secure Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to Ghana while these matters remain unresolved in court. Which means that after Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to Ghana, he probably has left Ghana again. I'm not sure about that, but I'm just I'm implying it from the end. He doesn't intend to return on the date. From what I'm reading, I'm just implying. He appears not to intend to return on the date he has agreed with the special prosecutor, based on which the special prosecutor has taken his name out of the wanted list. And he's challenging the manner in which the special prosecutor has done so, that it shouldn't have been public. My God. Now, if the special prosecutor has publicly put you on that list, announced that you are a fugitive, is it not proper for the public to be told that you are no longer such a person? Is it not even in your interest that the public should be told that you are no longer wanted? Well, but I don't know all the circumstances surrounding the case. Perhaps he wants to be written to, and the special prosecutor hasn't written to him. I will leave those things to rest. But for him to be seeking an injunction to restrain the special prosecutor from seeking him, from taking the necessary step to secure his availability for the investigation, for me, I think it is becoming too preposterous. And I'll leave that for the court. Let's be careful, because the court is, but I have written somewhere about the effect of an injunction which is filed, especially when it comes to public office, that someone who has a public duty should be injuncted by the court to withhold that public duty until such a time that some other person wants. In this case, it is even an accused person. An accused person wants the law enforcement body to be held off until such a time that a lawsuit he has filed will be determined, which means that if this lawsuit goes up 10 years, it means for all the 10 years, the special prosecutor cannot take any step to secure the availability of Mr. Ofori-Atta for the investigation. And that is why I said earlier, that this case has greater significance than many people would have might have thought, because this, if the court grants this, it will have serious implications on the fight against corruption and even against crime.
Right.
Because if I steal, for instance, God forbid, and then they're coming to arrest me, then I file a suit against the police and say, oh, the manner they are walking towards me was intimidating. So it's amount to assault. And then I add an injunction. An application will hold them up until you determine whether the way they were walking towards me is assault or not. They shouldn't arrest me. Oh, my God. Well, but that should be my final word.
I hear you, Counsel. We're grateful that you spent your morning here with us, and we're always thankful. Counsel Osman Alasan is a private legal practitioner. Thank you.
Most welcome.
So, the closing thoughts of Counsel were very interesting. That if you go and steal, and the police wants to arrest you, and you can run to court and say you don't even like the way they are walking towards you. So they should. But you see, I think Mr. Kesej have been predicted or preempted this some 1 year ago, maybe 12, 13 months ago. Listen to him.
Wait, let us bring before you the body of our investigation as evidence. And if you look at it and you decide that the evidence does not show up to the standard of proof required in criminal cases, then you can dismiss it. But don't prevent us from doing our work, from investigating. It is dangerous. As I said, I wasn't sounding as a prophet of doom, but there is doom looming ahead of us. That very soon, a murderer will boldly walk to court to seek an injunction. Should I feel frustrated and resign? I took an oath when I was sworn in. And in my life, when I take on the reins to do something, I do it to the best of my ability. Those who do not understand tree, please forgive me. They say I'm a unkwanoma. Me de me cry about for it. To me.
That's Special Prosecutor Kesej. Listen to him again. I want you to listen to him again, please.
Wait, let us bring before you the body of our investigation as evidence. And if you look at it and you decide that the evidence does not show up to the standard of proof required in criminal cases, then you can dismiss it. But don't prevent us from doing our work, from investigating. It is dangerous. As I said, I wasn't sounding as a prophet of doom, but there is doom looming ahead of us. That very soon, a murderer will boldly walk to court to seek an injunction. Should I feel frustrated and resign? I took an oath when I was sworn in. And in my life, when I take on the reins to do something, I do it to the best of my ability. Those who do not understand tree, please forgive me. They say I'm a unkwanoma. Me de me cry about for it. Me yet me to me.
People have done. Kesej is now calling himself a lonely bird. Say, Jabin, console yourself with this.